Hey there, YouTube. Today we're going to argue with all of the range officers. The last video I put up, if you haven't watched it, you probably watch it before this one. It showed in that a DQ situation at a USPSA match where there was a competitor that drew his pistol from appendix, didn't on the face of it, do anything unsafe or inappropriate. And the range officer DQ'd him, and this has spurred quite a bit of discussion. My view of this basically is that this isn't a safety issue. There's nothing unsafe happens, so we shouldn't be using safety rules to DQ people like that. Shouldn't be looking to DQ people. We should get rid of crappy range officers. You shouldn't need to be a rules lawyer in order to successfully complete a USPSA match, and so on. Like I said, the previous video showed this interaction where this guy had to rules lawyer his way out of a DQ that shouldn't have happened in the first place. Let's take the comments. Top comment, one that I pinned to the top. It makes USPSA uninteresting for the same reason that Dungeons and Dragons looks uninteresting. And man, I think that's a great way of putting it. I liked it. I pinned that up to the top. I think that is that's exactly what it is. People don't want to be rules lawyering about this stuff. I'd rather spend my time dating women than play Dungeons and Dragons. But to each their own. That is true. You're not going to be picking up a lot of the chicks doing Dungeons and Dragons. There was a lot of comments where people took aim at the range officer. I think appropriately, the range officer is an example of people we don't want as range officers at USPSA matches. Like you don't want that guy holding a timer. You don't want it. It's not a good thing for anyone. Dude yelled stop so hard he ran out of breath. Like, yes, he sounds like he needed his blood pressure checked 50 pounds ago. Yeah, Jesus. Yeah, the range officer is a disaster. It was great. Here's an interesting comment. If it actually was a safety issue and the RO knew what this was going to happen and didn't stop the action, the RO is negligent and it needs to be addressed. Like, I don't know if I agree with that the RO has to stop a guy from doing something unsafe, but the next comment I agree with a lot, which in reality proves he knew deep down that it was not an unsafe act. Yeah. So again, the video showing a guy getting DQ'd, watching that is like, I don't believe there's a safety issue. It's almost it's to the point where it's like if the range officer told me like, oh, it was unsafe, like I was afraid he was going to get hurt or he was going to hurt someone else, it'd just be like, you're lying. You're lying. Like there's nothing, like nobody thinks that there was like a safety thing going on. And that's kind of what's frustrating about scenarios like this, where you'll have a guy getting the harshest penalty possible in USPSA. He's getting kicked out of the match, like DQ'd, boom, you're unsafe. Like, okay, that's pretty serious, but you're having that happen when nobody involved thinks that there's any safety thing going on. It's just a technical argument about what exactly the rule is and how it should be applied. Like, it's kind of a crazy situation if you look at it that way. Let's read a story here. Many stories like this, I think. 15 years ago at my first competition, I showed up with my crappy gear knowing no one. I had practiced for more than a year to be ready to shoot a match and not embarrass myself. I know I should have just started showing up as soon as I got into shooting. He knows that now. Okay. I was nervous and didn't really know range commands. The RO had me step up to the first shooting position and asked me if I understood the course of fire. I said yes, and being nervous, I looked down at my holster and patted my gun. I didn't draw my gun or anything. The RO then tried to DQ me for touching my gun before I was told to load and make ready. Some of the other shooters were really nice and knew it was my first match. They knew that the RO was a jerk and told me to go get the match director. I went and got him, and the match director overruled the DQ, and I got to shoot the match. Yes, but if that jerk RO had got his way, I would have been DQ'd and probably never would have shot competition again. These anal ROs are a real danger to the future of the sport. So like what happens in USPSA is you have a big problem with these type of personalities. It is a big problem. However, on the inside of USPSA, it does not appear to be a big problem. It'll be like, oh, that one guy's a jerk like that, or hey, you just need to do this or that thing, and then it won't be a situation anymore, or whatever. It kind of gets put on the competitor to just avoid these personalities or avoid these kind of altercations. Now, the problem is the people that see this from the outside or they have a bad run in with somebody, they just stop going to USPSA. Those are the people that you want to worry about. The people that look at this and they're like, I'm not going to participate in that. That situation's not for me. Those people obviously do not show up to USPSA, which is kind of the problem. That's kind of the problem that I'm discussing. I quit my local IDPA because of an RO just like this guy. It got so bad that the club later got rid of IDPA. Another follow-up comment. Now I'm discouraged from even joining. Yes, and it sucks. It's not what I'm not trying to discourage people from doing competitive shooting. I'm trying to shine a light on things to make competitive shooting better so that it appeals to more people. Okay, the range officer knew he was going to yell stop, and in that case, he should have proactively told him, I don't want you doing it this way. Just like, okay. This makes the most sense was a reply to that, then the follow-up. Then he wouldn't have got to yell stop and impose his power. Yeah, you've got a power-tripping RO that is literally looking to DQ a guy. Like, he's just watching him. He's like, yeah, I'm going to DQ this motherfucker. As soon as he draws his gun, I'm DQing him. It's like, do you want range officers like that are looking to DQ people? No, of course you don't. They shouldn't be range officers. As soon as competitions start being more about technicalities than skills, they become pointless. Well, I don't know if they're pointless, but it definitely becomes different. It becomes not about the reason that you're there, right? Yeah, I don't care about the technicalities of this situation. Like, I do not care. Stagger for president of USPSA. Well, thank you, sir. Thank you. As a lawyer, I love it when someone whips out a rule site and totally owns someone who is wrongly calling them out, but I could see why non-lawyers could be turned off by that. In any event, this was a bad call. It's like calling a 181 degree break. No way anyone can see 179 versus 181 by any level of certainty. If it's safe, I would not call it. Yeah, that's a pretty reasonable take, sir. I don't think you should be a range officer with that. I literally hate that RO's voice. The RO is just angry at the world because he can't remember the last time he was able to look down and see his junk. Woo! Savage comments about this range officer. And I think, again, rightly so. It's not the type of, you don't want that guy doing the RO thing. You don't want it. I had an experience with an RO like that at a state shooting range. He was just looking for reasons to flex his authority and scream at people. I was testing a few different rounds with the rifle that had fit muzzle. Yeah, I don't give a shit about this whole story. Bros, I've had a range I'm a member of. Like, there's something that happened and guys are like, we need to ban FMJ ammo. And this is a range that has rifles, pistols, trap shooting, all the things. And like, we're banning FMJ ammo was the solution they came to. It's like, I've seen like all kinds of dumb shit when it comes to ranges. Of course. The reality is it's hard to watch this video and not have the impression that it was a baited ambush and the RO could not wait to DQ someone for it. Yeah, it's hard to not have that impression because it's obviously what the RO was doing. He was obviously looking to DQ the guy. The flash to bang between draw and DQ is immediate. He was waiting for it. Bad for the sport. Yes, terrible for the sport. Terrible for the sport. A reply to that, 100%. Unfortunately, there are a few of those types out of there. Yes, there are. The problem that you have in USPSA, like, to be honest, is that there'll be a culture of like some people looking to protect that guy. When like, I think that the range officers as a group do it wrong. They should go after the bad ROs themselves. Like other communities, they do that where they kind of like, nope, like I don't want to work a match with this fucking guy over here because he's terrible. Like that would make things better. The rules are meant to foster a safe environment. Yes, the DQ is unnecessary. The dude is facing downrange and no safety rules are broken. I've seen such ROs go on a power trip and exactly. Like this is like, just don't accept anyone's bullshit that if they would look at an issue like this and then start talking about the need to be safe, there was not a safety issue. I don't think any thinking person thinks that. This is the issue. Many RSOs go to the range to flex muscles and be jerks. This is why I stopped going to competitions and hate many ranges. It's like, so USPSA people, like, are you listening to that? People don't like that stuff. Great video. Seems to me the 180 rule is an important rule, but why are there so many 180 trap stages? Why plan a stage that makes me shoot at 178 degrees? I'm not a fan of those stages. So for those non-competition shooters, let me talk about this. There's a 180 degree rule typically in like a USPSA event where it's like you can point your gun where you just can't go even like 1 degree this way or 1 degree that way. Like, so in this 180-degree cone, you can point your gun as long as there's nothing otherwise preventing, like no other thing making it unsafe to do that. So that's like one of the controls put on you. So like, I can kind of be in here. Obviously, I'm not going to point the gun behind me. That's bad. And it's just a range rule that's put on you. Okay, that's reasonable. If I'm not allowed to do like point past the 180, fine. You get DQ'd if you do it. Okay, like whatever. The problem and what this guy's talking about is many, many, many stages are constructed. So it's like I'm not shooting like this way. Like I have to shoot right up on the line of the 180 and then maybe do a complicated movement, get my hand off the gun and keep the gun pointed this way and then get over here and shoot again right on the 180 line, like going this way. It's a weird thing in USPSA where it's enforced really hard in most places. It's really tight, the 180 enforcement, but at the same time, a lot of stages are constructed where you're going to run right up on the edge of it. It's to me, it's a stupid situation. It doesn't make sense to do it that way. There's a different things you could do to fix it, but it's like it generally speaking doesn't make sense to me to have enforcement that tight and the rule written that way and the stages designed that way. Like they don't play together. And there's more people get DQ'd from USPSA matches that really need to be for like a little like, oh, they just pointed like you saw in the previous video, like guys, stop them, DQ them. The guy did a bad thing. He pointed his gun like 1 degree the wrong way. Okay, it needs to be said out loud when debating what rules should be. Your zoom out is much more than an opinion. Okay, let's take this. The USPSA is a 501c3 nonprofit. The range is most likely also nonprofit. Per their nonprofit charges, the literal reason for existing is to educate the public about and to encourage participation in shooting sports. Yes. That's the North Star in any safety rules where the RO literally stands by waiting for you to act unsafely, works against that North Star. So either the rule is broken or the RO is broken. I don't think they're mutually exclusive. I think the rules are broken and the RO is broken. But yes, this is what's kind of complicated for me. Let's take another comment like that's kind of along these lines. One that I responded to. Filter. Response status. I responded to Adam Maxwell. Okay, let's go down. Gotta put it up. All right. Anyway, there's another comment on here that's good. It's kind of along the same lines. This is from Adam Maxwell, former candidate for Area 5 director. And here's what he wrote. Dang, all the things I said on this. That's your takeaway? You couldn't be more wrong on my opinion of how this was officiated. Okay, so I said, I'm glad he's not in office, is what I said. Is to say, I'm happy that this guy's not an area director. Because, I heard he didn't like me attacking the range officer. So I'm just like, dude, fuck that. Like, no, this range officer needs to get attacked. And it's like, I want leaders that want to attack bad range officers, quite honestly. Maybe not sitting area directors can't go and say, like, this RO sucks. They probably can't do that, but like could walk right up to that line. That would be cool. Anyway, I don't really care what your opinion is of how this was officiated, Mr. Maxwell. Like, I do not care. Like, I think that's the wrong look. Like, I agree with the guys like, hey, zoom out and look at the big picture. It's like, I don't think that like my opinion or other people's opinions about the exact technicalities of the 180 rule and the appendix draw rule. Like, I don't think that's all that germane. I don't think it's relevant. I think instead you just like look at the situation at face value. You have a guy on a shooting range, draws his gun, points it at a target he intends to shoot. Like, there's nothing apparently is wrong here. And he's stopped, like try to DQ him. There's a big, he's rules lawyering and all this stuff. This scenario is bad. This scenario is bad for USPSA. It's bad for competitive shooting. We should take steps to avoid having this scenario. We should get rid of shit range officers, have the rules written more clearly, more reasonably, whatever. It shouldn't be a thing in USPSA when you see that type of footage where you get guys DQ'd for that type of bullshit. Like, it makes no sense. Well, I thought this was a good discussion. It's a good topic to talk about because, I mean, it generated a lot of comments, a lot of guys very interested in this. And, hey, Oh, here's a guy's comment. Well said. I love USPSA, but this is exactly why young guys hate it. Yeah. I came from the 3-gun world and I watched guys in the early USPSA multi-gun days get DQ'd for putting an unloaded and flagged rifle into a bag improperly. It's like, yes, that's what they will do. That's what USPSA people do. And it's like kind of funny if you watch people that have been trained to shoot, like trained, not officially trained, but all their training is just participation in USPSA. It's actually funny. It's like a lot of them, it's like they can't function with a holstered gun, like a loaded holstered gun, walking around with it all day. Like they cannot function with that. Like they don't like it because they're used to unloading their shit all the time. Like it's, I don't know. It's not a good thing. Okay, this isn't a bad rule. It's a bad RO. That RO makes me embarrassed that I'm an RO. Like, yep. I agree. This is ridiculous. RO should have been proactive and reasonable about it. Like, yep. If he's truly concerned about safety, then help contribute to safety. It's like, no, he wasn't worried about safety. Nobody believes that. Anyway, I think that's enough for now. If there's any interesting stuff pops off with this, I'll come talk about it again. Maybe the board will do something at least to clear up the appendix thing. I think that's a strong possibility. So we shall see if that happens for now.